Okay, inshallah, you let me know how much time? Midnight time. Okay, inshallah time.
Inshallah, we're going to do a Q&A with the Sheikh for any brothers who had any questions, inshallah. So does anybody have any questions for the Sheikh? It doesn't have to be on the topic that we have today.
Assalamu alaikum. My question is, what's the best and most efficient way to take notes?
Say that again.
What is the best and most efficient way to take notes to benefit from?
The best and most efficient way to take notes. Right. I've explained this in detail in an online course that I did called How to Be a Serious Student of Knowledge. Inshallah, you can check it out on one of my websites, HadithDisciple.com, in which you'll find a full explanation of the absolutely necessary skill sets for a self-respecting student of knowledge. I'll answer you in brief now, and if you choose to go and check out that course, it's better for you. But I'll give you a short answer now. And that is the best way to take notes, first and foremost, is not to take notes. Once again, thinking what? Outside the box. If you don't need to take notes, don't take notes. If you can memorize everything and understand everything and make your mental notes, that's better for you. May sound weird, may sound a little out of space, a little mystic, blah, 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 but trust me. Force yourself to do it. One day out of the week, leave your house without no phone. No phone. The numbers that you need, memorize them. Force yourself to memorize them. The directions that you need, force yourself to memorize them. All the information that you need, the password, this and that, just try it out. Maybe a little difficult in the beginning, maybe challenging, but eventually you'll be like, oh man, I can do it. That's not that difficult. Memory is a powerful, powerful muscle. But most of us don't go to the gym. Most of us don't run. Most of us don't do calisthenics. Most of us, shout out to Rip Wright. Most of us, we're not using that muscle, and the muscle becomes weak and limp. And we become reliant on devices, relying on computers, relying on pens, relying on paper. So my first piece of advice to you, the best way of taking notes is what? Not to take notes. All right? After that, if you have to take notes, if you absolutely necessarily need to take notes, then be in the night to make sure that you pay attention in the class. If you can multitask, that's even better. And the different styles and ways of taking notes. Writing down everything, summarizing it yourself, rewriting it, etc. Wallahu ta'ala.
I got another question.
Okay.
What is one way, what are some ways someone can kill procrastination?
SubhanAllah. We've spoken that at length and in detail in that same course. One of the students of knowledge killers, which is procrastination. I spoke about that in detail, and in many other videos as well on the channel that are free, in which we've dealt with this specifically. Go back to the playlist called The Pitfalls and Obstacles of Seeking Knowledge. We explained the book of Sheikh Abdul Salam Barjas, Awaq al-Talab, in which one of those cancers is a tasweef wa tamanni, is procrastination, extended hope, false hope. One of the ways of killing it is seeking Allah's refuge from it, and also realizing that procrastination is one of the sharpest swords of Shaitan. It's one of his best weapons, and he is slain. Only Allah knows how many people with that weapon. Inshallah, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. Procrastination is vile, it's dangerous. The more you recognize it as being evil and ugly, the better it is for you to defend yourself from it. Wallahu a'lam.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I have two questions. The first question is, there are many sciences in Islam to study, like Quran, Hadith, Tafsir, learning Arabic, and all those things. In what order should someone who wants to seek knowledge give precedence to those things?
We've answered that in detail in that course, and also in the way of the disciple. The way of the disciple. All of these different questions, how to study, what to do first, where to go, etc. You'll find them in the way of the disciple. Make sure you check it out. And I'm not just saying it because it's my book.
And my second question is, how should a person balance seeking knowledge and memorizing the Quran?
As well. In that course. What's important is, I tried my best, and Allah surely knows, to deal with these problems and these issues from a hands-on, sleeves rolled up perspective. Me putting myself in your shoes. How old are you? 19. And you? 22. Okay, whether you realize it or not, whether you believe it or not, at one point in time, I was 19 and I was 22. And there were different challenges that I faced on seeking knowledge, memorizing Quran, learning Arabic, going overseas, making a living, procrastination, taking notes, etc., 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 etc. So when I wrote that book, and when I did those courses, I tried to turn back the hands of time. Put myself in your shoes, the things that I had to go through and how Allah allowed me to overcome them. So in the night time, check it out. You'll find the answer to those questions and many, many, many more. Wallahu a'lam.
My question is, how does one open and soften his heart to feel the sweetness of ibadah?
Open and soften your heart to the sweetness of ibadah. You gotta try it out. Like anything else. Try it out. Take the challenge. Halal or haram. They say you try it out. Don't knock it until what? You try it. One try, you'll be hooked. That's a fact. Why do they make so much money selling drugs? Because they know the power of what they're selling. So the sweetness of faith, once you actually experience it, when you feel it, it's something that you can never ever forget. It feels so good to do the right thing. It feels so good to be righteous. It feels so good to follow what Allah wants you to follow. That you'll never ever be able to walk away from it. But most people, they never ever get a chance to try it out because of the shell team. Stay away, oh, don't get caught up in doing that, don't be in the mosque all day, oh, come out here with us, hang out with us. So the average person doesn't even get a chance to what? Let alone when you're by yourself. When's the last time you were by yourself and you mentioned the law? No one around. Dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You read the Quran by yourself. How satisfying it is to speak to Allah, to call out to Allah. How satisfying it is to have Allah speak to you when you read His words. Try it out. And then the next time you'll experience it. Wallahu a'lam.
Who else has a question for Sheikh?
Do sins affect the memory?
Sins affect your memory for sure. From so many different aspects. The first aspect, from a spiritual perspective, sins being a means of Allah punishing you, not giving you success. How can you put something pure inside a dirty container? And also from a tangible, practical aspect, nothing spiritual or religious or Islamic. Focus of the mind. You have an attic or garage. Whether you like it or not, the space is what? Limited. The more clutter, the more junk, the more things are all over the place and scattered, the less room you have for that which you actually want and need to store. Make sense or not? There's no space. And if it is space, you gotta trip and crash through a bunch of stuff to find the crate that you're looking for. Versus, number one, my attic is clear. Number two, even if I trip and stumble over something, nothing is in this attic except the possessions that I need and want of my profession. So even if I run into something, I'm looking for that later on. Versus a mechanic who looks through a drawer for tools and he finds one of his kids' doll babies, a toy. Then he's looking and it's a phone, then it's a this and it's a that, before he even finds his wrench. Get the point I'm trying to make? So those sins are memories, thoughts, feelings, emotions, images. You know how long an image stays in your head? You'll be shocked. What science tells you how long one image stays inside your mind. So the more you put that junk in your mind and your heart, and not talking about spiritualism now, the less room you have for the actual information that you're trying to sponge up. So without a doubt, Wallahu ta'ala.
Which one had the question? You want to read the hand over here?
Yusuf.
Huh? Yusuf? Oh,
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Sheikh, my question was for a student of knowledge or someone who wants to seek knowledge and whatnot, at what point should they focus on a specialty? So then should they be like trying to learn Ibn Salah and at the same time?
فهمت عليك. كيف حالكم؟ الحمد لله طيبين؟ أهلا وسهلا مرحبا بك. والله طيب. Give me Ahmed please لو سمحت. Where the disciple?
What's in the book?
لا راح نقرأ منه. شوفوا لأنفسكم. ها؟ The proof is in the pudding. That's what they say back in the day, right? You guys may say something else now. What's important is making a claim, saying this has the cure, has the blah blah blah. Page number 38, chapter 17, seeking a field of expertise. An absolute necessity. If one wishes to establish a respectable center for learning and research. In these later difficult times of ours, however, it is difficult, something of a rarity, because knowledge has become so scarce and so rare, especially in Western countries, one often finds himself in need to act as a super center, a superstore, a Walmart, a one-stop shop for everything, without a main specialty. Instead, become a general acceptable standard, fulfilling the needs of all Islamic sciences. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, nor vice. That is not what is intended. There isn't anything wrong with a student of knowledge being well-balanced, well-rounded in all the traditional sciences, having read a few basics, having taken a series of intermediate courses in most fields and participated in several intensive workshops. That's fine. Often that's what's needed, and sometimes one has no second option. A graduate may be in a location or time in which he must play every role and manage each slot, but this can only be temporary. Nothing but a mandatory bandage on a wound that requires immediate attention and medical care. This can never be the long-term goal or considered a step towards the establishment of something serious and honorable. The exceptions to this are real experts existing in a realm, etc. So obviously, you read Arabic, you have access to Arabic works, at-takhasus. But we wrote this for the English-speaking reader, the aspiring student of knowledge, of the need and the necessity of seeking a field of expertise at a certain point of your career as a student of knowledge. Not in the beginning, طبعا. ليس في أول مراحل العلم. But there comes a time in which طالب العلم لابد أن يخصص توجه إلى فن من الفنون. والنادر أن الواحد يتقن ويصير ماهرا في أكثر من فن. يوجد لكن قل. So being a master or being a jack of all trades and a master of none is dangerous. Sometimes you have to, do that. But if all of us are going to Egypt at the same time, we're graduating, coming home at the same time, I know fiqh, I know the basics of this, I've studied this, but my field, I love sirah. And his thing that he's naturally good at, that he loves to spend time on, is qira'at. And the thing that you're naturally good at, the thing that you have a knack for is hadith. And then you have a knack for kadha. And we all what? Work together and we all respect each other's takhasus. So takhasus, شيء لا بد منه. والنبي عليه الصلاة والسلام هو الذي يقول أرحم أمتي بأمتي أبي بكر وأشدهم في الله عمر وأصدقهم حياة عثمان إلى آخر الحديث. فهذا أصل من أصول فكرية إيش؟ التخصص. مبدأ التخصص. عرفت؟ فشيء لابد منه بعد أن أتقن الأصول والأمهات وبعد أن يعني واصل الطلب لمدة من الزمن يتوجه. And the person's his تخصص, his field of expertise should be based off of what he has the most desire, the most passion for, and the natural desire for, and what he's most naturally adept at doing. You're good at this, but you're better for qira'ah. You got that voice, you got that smooth flow. That's you all day. You're more hardcore type of dude. Hadith, it's for you. Good in Quran, you know the Quran, you have another qira'ah, but hadith is for your personality. Wahakada. So there's a time in which you do it, based off of what your teacher says to you, and based off of how you feel. Once you've covered the basics, once or twice, save your time, maximize your time, استوفر وقتك لأن العلم لا يحاط به، العلم كثير. والله تعالى أعلم. أرجو أن كنت أجبت عن السؤال بإذن الله تعالى. خير إن شاء الله. If there's no other questions, we'll stop here tonight. جزاكم الله خيرا.
One more question.
تفضل.
Assalamu alaikum.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
I had a question about someone who's doing ibadah, doing a lot of ibadah for the sake of Allah, but how do they deal with self-amazement?
Self-amazement.
That sort of stuff.
Well, first and foremost is to know that your nafs can be your enemy. Know that your nafs can be treacherous. One of the scholars of the past, and I said this here in Minnesota a couple trips ago, I was with Sheikh Ilyas. We were in a bookstore, a notorious bookstore, that some brothers didn't feel comfortable going in, but I didn't have no problem going in the bookstore. Inshallah, hopefully I'll go to this bookstore this trip. Maybe tomorrow, inshallah. And alhamdulillah, there was a sister working in the bookstore, and she gave us a free gift from a section in the bookstore. And then, I looked in that section, I started grabbing some stuff for myself. So the brother was like, you grab that book from that section, from this bookstore? I'm like, yeah, why not? So I opened up the book, I picked up the book, and subhanAllah, immediately found a juicy faida. Something was from the Lata'if. And it was one of the ulama of the past who said, Al-Khazinu, إِذَا طَلَعَ عَلَى خِيَانِ وَكِيلِهِ عَزَلَهُ أنت قد اطلعت على خيانة نفسك فاعتزلها. He says that if and when a businessman finds that one of his partners, he finds that one of his agents, one of the people working for him is treacherous, stealing money, taking money, putting some in his pocket, some of those decimals, something is up. When he finds out that he ain't right, he ain't straight, what would he do? At best, he'll remove him, let alone make him leave town in a hurry, right? Is this not the case? At best, he'll remove him. So the man, he says, أنت قد اطلعت على خيانة نفسك. You know the treacherous nature of your own nafs. What are you waiting for to get rid of it, quote unquote? What are you waiting for to put up your guard and your defense? What are you waiting for to stop trusting your nafs? I got it. It's all right. I don't have no hasad. My intentions are pure. Something. What are you waiting for to protect yourself from your own nafs? And you see what your nafs is capable of doing. So the nafs, by nature, loves to be praised, lauded. Everyone wants to be the man. That's natural. As Abdullah ibn Abbas has said, the one who sits down, the people ask him, they listen to him. He says, La yuzayin kalamu. He doesn't want his speech to sound good. He says he's crazy. You're not being honest. It feels good, of course. So you have to, the first step of getting over self-amazement is to realize that it is a reality, and to realize that the nafs can be very treacherous. So always keep your guard up. Number two, keep your nose in the books. The more you read about those great scholars of the past, you realize that you don't have that much knowledge. You're really not that smart. Your memory isn't that great compared to those great mountains of ilm. Another piece of advice, away from keeping your nose in the books, reading about the ulama of hadith, is make sure that you keep good company around you, brothers that are stronger and sharper than you in knowledge. That keeps you grounded. And alhamdulillah, when I was in Medina, I had great classmates. You think that you accomplish something by memorizing this book, someone has memorized 10 more books. You've memorized this, he's memorized more. Faster, quicker, sharper, smarter. You can't be around people in which you feel that you're superior around. That's going to make you feeling self-amazement. So when it comes to seeking knowledge, always remain hungry, always scorn yourself, always look down upon your actions, and stay hungry. And that, inshallah ta'ala, along with isti'adha, seeking Allah's refuge, asking for Allah's protection, that is a means of dealing with and conquering, inshallah ta'ala, self-amazement. But it's a long discussion. And again, I've spoken on this in this manual, the Titanic struggle. Check it out for yourself in the nighttime. Wallahu a'lam. Inshallah, khairan.